Applying the template, applying shapes. In this lesson, we'll modify a template to add shapes. We'll leverage some tricks in Tableau to get our desired effect, so I hope you pick up a few things. Again, this is completely optional, just showing you the power of building a fun template. So, firstly, I want you to go to the resources, download the shape zip file, and extract it to your directory. Hopefully once you've done that, it will look something along the lines of the following. Your Tableau repository, shapes, a folder, whichever you want to call it. I've just called it Champions League, but now you have all your shape files pre-downloaded for you. So with this done, let's go back into Tableau. What I want us to do to start off with is to duplicate our rows. And I want us to rename this as shape. I want us to edit this, and now I want us to remove this because we don't want any sigmoids, we don't want any of that fun stuff. I want us to type the following: if, now this is the fun part, index is equal to 0, i.e. if it's a starting point, and, are you ready? Window max type is equal to items, then we want it to show, otherwise we do not. So again, if it's the initial point or the first index and it's items, i.e. for links we don't want to do anything, then we want it to show, otherwise not. Let's drag this into rows. Let's right click, compute using path bin. As you can see, only when the point is 0 does it show. Let's go into shapes and let's turn this into shape. Ignore the kind of ballooning sizes, it happens. But let's get rid of this from color. Let's take a name and drop that into shape. Add all members, that's fine. Interesting. Now let's go to shape. You can see that we have a lot of values here. Let's go to Champions League, and then what we could do is start applying this. If it hasn't applied, because you have a, well, if it hasn't applied, click reload shapes. If you need help on importing custom shapes, I have a tutorial link at the bottom in the resources, so check that out. But I'm going to quickly apply. One of the things I could have done is I could have had a score in a separate attribute. That would probably have made this a lot easier, but it still works, and hopefully you can see the power of this. By the way, I am a football fan, and that's why I can identify the logos very quickly. But I'm going to apply all the logos. Again, the key is that this is just to show it as an example. Here we go. Let's bring the shapes down a bit. What I also want to do is I want to take the name or TC, let's just get rid of that. I want the name and I want to drop that onto the label there. Let's see if we can get this to be on the right hand side. On our line now, we don't actually need the label anymore. We can get rid of that. Can you see what we've done? Now I want us to right click on shape and go to dual axis. I want us to synchronize these axes to make sure that it's perfectly synced. Remove the headers. And as you can see, we can now proceed to adjust in any way we fancy. If we expand it to full screen, hopefully you can see that the text might be cut off a little bit depending on resolution. But what I want us to do is just to decrease the size of the text just a smidgen. Let's reformat and let's get rid of the lines because we don't need the dividers anymore. and let's get rid of the nulls. Let's just right click, hide indicator. So here we have it. We have our data visualization in principle. We have our football clubs, we have our badges, and it expands and looks pretty interesting. The key now is just the final touches, adding it to a dashboard and then progressing. So hopefully you found this kind of interesting. We created a dual axis to get the shapes in, but now let's move on to the final lesson.